spending an hour in church, you'd have to go back the same way and walk another mile. But to this day, folks, I can never remember missing a Sunday service in church all of my life. Now we've been in some tough situations. I remember one Sunday we got up real early to fly from Tel Aviv to London because I wanted to be in church for Charles Spurgeon's tabernacle there. And Sunday morning they called a strike in Israel, and the government owns everything over there, own the airlines and the trash companies and everything, and they called a strike. The planes couldn't get off the ground. We were at the airport. It was Sunday morning. So here's what I did. I went over and I asked them if they would let us have a room in the airport and announce a Sunday morning service in the airport for those that were stranded there. And we would put together some music and preaching, and we would have a church service. And it turned out beautifully. I'll bet we had 30, 40, 50 people show up. A lot of it because they didn't have anything else to do. they were stranded, you see. But you had a captive audience. So there's more than one time that I have innovated church services when we got what most people would have just given up and said, oh, well, we'll go to church next Sunday. But not me. I said, we're going to have church this Sunday. And I can never remember. I could tell you many experiences traveling around the world where we had to set up our own church service in order to have one. And I would do it. And folks, one Wednesday night, I don't know if I told you this or not, but it was Wednesday night in the airport in Paris. And I just passed the word around and I said, we're going to have prayer meeting over in this corner of the airport. I would say we had at least a dozen people show up over there for prayer meeting in the airport, you see. But here is something that was interesting. After the prayer meeting was over, our flight was scheduled out in about 45 minutes. And they announced over the system that they had oversold the seats. Now, they do this all the time. This is just general business. They oversell everything because normally a certain percentage of people aren't going to show up. So hotels oversell and airlines oversell. That's just business. But in this particular night, everybody showed up. And there wasn't enough seats on the plane. So they read off the names of people that were not able to get on the plane. And my wife's and my name were read off over the PA system. Well, we were a little upset because we had all of our connecting flights and back into the States, and we had everything all set up, and that was really going to throw us in a kink. But there's nothing we could do about it. We'd had our prayer meeting. we shouldn't go home grumpy after prayer meeting. So we just rejoiced and said everything's going to work out all right. But now here is what happened. As Paul Harvey would say, this is the rest of the story. The next flight that we were able to get on is about an hour and a half down the clock. When we arrived in New York, the first thing we heard in the airport there, the plane that we were scheduled to come over on went down in the Atlantic Ocean. And boy, don't you think that doesn't put the fear of God into your heart. I mean, I never was going to be unhappy no matter what again. But a part of that, I feel, that I've been very, very careful in my travels, and we've been to nearly every continent in the world over the 60 years of my life and I were married. We always honored God Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. That was God's time for us to be with Him and His people. Now, we didn't always go to a Baptist church because there might not have been any, but we